So, good afternoon, my dear students. We are in an unusual time and therefore have to come to you in your homes through the internet. I guess that you will find this teaching, though not very normal, but useful as you stay home and prepare for the next action that the university might want to take. I will try as much as possible to be the normal self in the classroom, though not with the usual comments that create laughter. Today, because we have done the other topics, I will just focus on social change and two other topics that we want to touch on. And we'll begin with social change. According to a Greek philosopher, nothing is constant and everything changes. And it is said that change is imminent in society, which means that it is inevitable. And it's a universal phenomenon. And so whatever the situation is, we must always be ready for change, either in society, in our lives, in our groups, in our families. Even the present situation tells us that nothing is constant. Nobody envisaged that we are going to have a situation where the entire university will be closed down and then students asked to get information from their lecturers through internet or any other means. It tells you that nothing is constant. Now, but the central questions that we normally ask as sociologists is, what are the causes of change? If the change comes, what factors bring about the change? Especially the change that has come now. What is the source? It is this coronavirus or this pandemic that has brought about this change. And so nations have to take measures to ensure that we adapt to this change. And what is the direction of change? As it is now, where are we going with this coronavirus? Are we going to go back to where we were? We are going to maintain what we are experiencing now, or something new is going to happen which will help us to adapt to situations in the future. And what are the consequences of change? Again, with this virus, what effects does it have on society? Some are saying that it is going to have effect on our economy. It is having effect on our social life. It's going to have effects on our personal lives. On every aspect of our lives, this change is going to have. And what impact is it going to have on our lives as people? That is what we want to consider. And one of the most important things is that sociology as a discipline, as you might recollect, came about as a result of changes that took place in society. So for us as sociology, this change that has taken place is nothing new to us. It is part of the social processes that take place in society that we want to understand how and why it happened and where is it going to lead us to. What are the definitions? As I have already said, I don't like definitions, but I will take you through one of the definitions. By Robertson says, it is any alteration in the pattern of culture, social structure, and social behavior over time. As you see now, there is a pattern of change. There's an alteration in our social structure. We don't have the relationship that we used to have. We don't have the social behavior that we used to have. If we were to be on campus, you will realize that today, being Thursday, people will be preparing to go to church. Others will be going out. Others will be doing a lot of things. And a usual Friday lecture, after the Friday, the weekends are there. we meet our friends, we chill small, and other things. And so when this thing happens, we see that, say that change has taken place. But one thing that we need to be conversant with is that when the change comes, it must be significant. It must impact on the social structure. And indeed, we are seeing a change on the social structure. Now, we don't have the normal interactions in social life. We don't have the normal social behavior. Everybody has been asked to stay home. And only few people are allowed to go out in the name of a lockdown. And so it tells you that the change that must come, or when the change comes, it impacts on our lives. It impacts on our social structure. Now, it's that the definition implies that change involves a recognizable modification in the underlying structure or the basic institution during a specific period. This is a specific period. Now, we have been home for about a month, almost a month now. And you see that things are not going to be normal in the next few days or next few weeks. And so we see that there's a drastic change. There's a modification in the underlying structure. And we know that what the structure is. Relationships have been broken. A lot of things have changed. And then the change affected the health sector. And it is affecting every other sector of society. It is all because of the fact that society is interdependent. Society is interdependent, or the institutions in society are interdependent. And therefore, a change in one aspect of society affects the other institutions, and invariably it affects our entire social behavior. That is where we are now. What are the characteristics of change? Social change happens everywhere, but the rate of change varies. Now, it happens everywhere social change takes place. We can say that the change started in China. But because of the fact that there's globalization, change has affected every aspect, every society in the world. And so, but then the rate of change varies. If you look at the rate of infection in other countries, in the European countries, the change is serious. In our country, it is more modest. And so you see that the change happens, but the rate of change varies from one society to another. Besides that, when it comes to development, different societies are developing faster than others. So you see that even in our own life on campus over here, when we teach, different people accept what we teach differently. At the same time, so some will develop faster than others. And then it can be planned and unplanned. If you look at this coronavirus, we don't know the source yet until the researchers come and tell us where it emerged from. It came as an unplanned thing. We didn't know that it was coming. All we heard last year was that there's a virus that is in China, killing people, infecting everybody, killing people. And so we didn't plan for this change. It is unintentional. It has been imposed on us. But sometimes when the changes, we plan it ourselves. Especially for the lockdown, it was planned. Government says, because of this, we need to amend our life. We need to change our lives. So this change that has taken place now, the lockdown especially, or the decision of the management for us to go home, was a planned thing. But it was a planned thing so that we save our lives or we adapt to the new environment that has been created. And then it has variable consequences. Look at how people are suffering, the effect on people. But some are not suffering so much. Others are suffering. Because different people have different capacities to contain the virus. China, perhaps, yes, started it, but then they are not seeing the consequences as Europeans are experiencing now. And so it has variable consequences on people. Now, in Ghana, it is said that in Africa, the rate of infection is low because of our temperature. So we can say that it is variable. And we are not having the same effects on us. And then it generates controversy. Now, everybody is in a state of fear and anxiety. Controversy. Different people understand it differently. And even the lockdown that the government has imposed, different people are interpreting a different way. Says, I want to go to the market. If I don't go to the market, I will not eat. If I stay home, what am I going to eat? And I don't have money, so I need to go. Others are saying that, no, we should stay in the house. So different, generous controversy. And in society, different people are interpreting the lockdown in different ways. I don't think that all of us were happy when we said we should go home. When we said that they were not going to write the mid-semester, some people were enjoying. Others were saying, oh, we need to write it before we go home. I have prepared enough to come and write the mid-sem. But others are enjoying. A generous controversy. It has variable consequences on our lives. Now, what are the factors that influence change? We have several factors. We have cultural factors, environmental factors, conflict, technological factors, need for adaptation, idealistic factors, and then social movements. Let's see if we can take them one by one and explain. Cultural change takes place three main ways: discovery, invention, and diffusion. And when these take place, we have explained when we did culture how these things take place. Then we have environmental factors. The environment within which we live have influence on our lives. And I want to link this with the need for adaptation. When you live in an environment, either you change the environment to suit you, or you change your behavior to suit the environment. So environmental factors influence our behavior. It brings about change in our lives. So that is why, assuming we are living here now and we decide to move outside Ghana and stay in the European countries, the environment there will influence our behavior. We adopt the practices of the people over there, and so it affects our lives. Then conflict also brings about change. Karl Marx says that conflict is the engine of growth in society. Conflict between two people will bring about change in society. When they fight and they agree that our problem is resolved, we bring about change. And especially if you look at the neo-Marxist perspective of conflict, they say that when we disagree on issues based on values, based on our interests, based on our principles, we disagree, we argue, we discuss, and then we come out we understand ourselves, we have developed. It has brought about change in our lives. Then technological factors. Now you can see that we are using technology to get into your homes. And so it has also brought about change in our lives. And even though we are staying in the house, through technology, we are able to get information that we want to get from our lecturers. And as I was saying, need for adaptation. Whenever you move to a different society, a different place, there's a need for you to adapt. And now with this coronavirus, we need to change our behavior. We need that Ghanaians, we said that we are hospitable. We want to welcome people into our homes. And now I said that we need to be cautious inviting people to our homes. And because when they come, we don't know what they are carrying. They might be carrying the virus. And therefore, when they come in, they will bring the virus into your home. And so because we need to adapt to the current situation, we have limited our movements a little while so that we don't get the virus. And then again, when we moved to the university for the first time, you see that our lives at the SSS was entirely different from what we experience now. And so to be able to live normal life in the university, we need to change our behavior to suit what is pertaining in the university. And then we have idealistic factors. Maziba has said that it is ideas that bring about change. That is all about it. Our values, our principles, our attitudes, and what have you, that bring about change. And so if we have ideas, if we have ideology, if we have beliefs, it is these things that will bring about change in society. Because that's the way we think, the way we believe about ourselves, the attitude that we have about ourselves, our values, are those factors that will lead to change. And then social movements. When we talk about social movements, we talk about a spontaneous group that emerged as a result of something that is happening in society. When the EC said that they were going to do a new register, spontaneously groups were formed that inter-party resisted against new register. It was a spontaneous action that was meant to challenge the EC to drop that idea. And so, if the EC listens to that particular group, then they will say that, yes, through social movement, we have been able to bring about change in society. And in most cases, in social movements, they may not have any particular leader. The leader just arises on that occasion, and then together, they bring about a change in society. If you can remember what happened in the Arabic countries, that's a typical social movement. Or those of you who are doing history, and Nkrumah's positive action that was declared was a social movement. It was a spontaneous action that was meant to challenge the authority of the colonial masters. And so, but then these processes do not happen just by chance. There are certain factors that influence these factors that bring about change. We have religion. Religion can impact on society so much, because the type of beliefs and practices that we have can either act as a barrier to change or facilitate the change that we have. As we go along, we will see how Max Weber explained that it was religion that brought about some changes in the advanced countries. When we're talking about the great transformation, those factors that brought about change, I think we mentioned that some of these things, the social aspect of change. And then we have styles of leadership. The person, styles of thought or consciousness, the way we think, the way we believe in ourselves, the way we organize ourselves, our consciousness. Do we believe the fact that society can be changed? Do we see science as a vehicle of change? Or we still think that there are some powers that control our lives? The way we think can also bring about change. It can facilitate the change, especially when it comes to even the cultural factors and the environmental factors. Some people will say that, oh, let's just live it like that. We will live our life just like that. Or this coronavirus came, and there is the way we think remain the same. We will not be able to live in the change that we are talking about, adapt to the new change. We need to modify our thoughts, because the change that has come, or the event has come. What do we need to facilitate the change so that we can adapt to our lives? And leadership. When you are in the society, and whether you take a step forward or a step backwards, it depends on your leader. How does your leader think? What is the perception of your leader? It is these things that will bring about change that we desire in society. And so that's what I said, leadership can influence the rate of change and the direction of change. And so a good leader who is dynamic, who is capable of pursuing dynamic policies, can bring about change. That is why the advanced countries have been able to bring about changes in the society, and we in Africa are so struggling, because we may say that we don't have dynamic leaders, we don't have leaders who are capable of pursuing dynamic policies. And so once these things happen, if you don't have the right leader, you will not be able to pursue a dynamic policy that will bring about change in society. And these leaders are able to generate mass following. Rollins, for instance, I can credit him for that. He was able to move people during his time to bring about changes in the society, even though he overstepped his bounds. Yet we credit him for his ability to mobilize people to bring about changes in the society at the time that he came to power. And they are able to also alter existing modes of thoughts. So he came in, people, or let me even say Rwanda, says that after suffering, going through war, the man has been able to transform Rwanda, and it's one of the showpieces, or a country that everybody wants to live in. It is peaceful, it is decent, and people are obeying the rules as expected because of one particular leader. Now, what's the direction of change? It can be positive, it can be negative. So and then under the positive, social change has led to industrialization, urbanization, and modernization. The three are related. In most cases, urbanization starts before industrialization. In other cases, industrialization starts before urbanization. And where we have industrialization, we may have modernization, where there's a new way of thinking. Where we have industrialization, modernization, our lives have been influenced. We moved from traditional way of living into a modern way of living. And now, because of industrialization, we have technology, and we are able to come into your homes and then giving you information that you desire. And so social change, yes, has positive influence. It has negative influence. But we can see that a lot of things are happening that are making our lives simpler. Now you can see that as you sit in the home, you can call your friend, even though you are not moving and see your friend physically, but you can talk to your friend using FaceTime, on Skype, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, whatever. And so, and then Facebook, you can see your friends, you can chat and do things as normal as well, even though you don't have that kind of face-to-face contact. It's all because of industrialization, within which we have technology. But it can have adverse effects on traditional social values, especially in the modern societies. In modern towns, traditional values and controls are weakened. Collective consciousness is weakened. I want to take you back to mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity, and then Gemeinschaft and then Gesellschaft. Says, and mechanical and then Gemeinschaft. Traditional social control is strong, and therefore collective action is seen to be better than individual action. And so we think about society more than the individual. But in our modern world, in the so-called world, people think that they are individuals, they can have the right to do what they think is right. And therefore, they do things the way they want to do it because of what? The weakening of the traditional social values. People don't see themselves as members of a group. They see what will make me happy. That is all that's important to them. And the question of the weakening of the simple and cohesive communities which promoted solidarity. Now, there is no solidarity. Everybody thinks that I must do this. That is why there's ritual murder, that is kidnapping, that there's armed robbery, and all these things are happening because there is weakening of traditional values in society. That's a problem that we have. And the breakdown is the result of the individual's inability to determine the real values of society. What are the values? You come to the university, we are in a modern world. What are the values of society? What are the values of the university? Yes, we have come, we don't have to fight, we don't have to do anything, but you look at the lifestyle of people over here, people are doing things differently. The kind of dress people are wearing, they tell this is what I believe is good on me, and so I must wear it. The real values of society has been broken, and therefore everybody does what they think is right. And that is what is called, it leads what is called permissiveness and anomy. And now, a lot of things are happening. What about permissiveness? It's about people doing what they think is right. There is no limit to what people can do. They do all kinds of things. And though there's anomy, there's normlessness. People do what they think is right. And so guys can do anything. Ladies can do anything. People can do anything that they think is right, provided it serves their interest. And because of the breakdown of traditional values, people accept scientific explanations for many of life events and consequences. People see their lives as a series of options, a process Peter Berger calls individualization. As I said earlier, because of the fact that there is permissiveness, I see myself as an individual. I don't consider those around me. So the action that I will take, if it serves my interest, I will take it. These are the options available to me. This is what I think will be good for me. I will take it. That is what we call individualization. People think about themselves more than the community. And the extended families is now, that used to provide social support for members, is weakened. Now, everything is father, mother, children. The uncle who used to be the social father and responsible for the nephews and nieces no longer does that. I must take care of my children, and so that when they grow, they also provide for me. But in some situations, that it hasn't been weakened completely. You will see the unity of the extended family, especially when there is a problem. But then so now, because of this transformation, the tendency is now towards the nuclear family, which is basically self-centered. I think that with this so-called lockdown, everybody with the mother or the father or the parents. You didn't go to your uncle, you didn't go to your auntie, you didn't go to but you went to your parents' house. That is what society is treating us now. And when we say that, when these are happening, individualism is a threat to societal morality because people think about what they want to do. They don't relate well with a larger social structure. About the church, even the church, people go to church because of what they think they will get, not because of that unity and solidarity that the church provides. So in the view of Peter Berger, whenever there is social change, there is increased autonomy and personal freedom. You as an individual has your personal freedom. You wear the dresses that you choose to wear. You eat the food that you want to choose. You behave the way you want to behave. But there is less enduring social ties. Friendship is now based on contract, as we learned from the organic and then Gesellschaft community. It is based on contract. And your ability to survive is determined by your power to negotiate your way through society. There is personal freedom. You have autonomy, but there is less enduring social ties. People don't care much about the group. They care much about themselves. Now we have theories of social change. We are going to consider three main theories. And for some of them, we have already gone through, especially with Karl Marx and then Max Weber. But we shall spend a little bit of time on Max Weber and David McClelland. Karl Marx's social change is based on the fact that it is like the evolution, or based on the fact that for Karl Marx, it is conflict that brings about change. And the conflict that Karl Marx proposes, or how Karl Marx traces the history of social change, is like the evolutionary theory, where things happen as and when they want to happen. Karl Marx thinks that part of change is brought about the interaction with the material environment. We have said that Karl Marx said people have access to production. They control production. And there are others who don't control production. They have come to sell their labor for survival. And so the interaction between the two will generate conflict. And the conflict is what Karl Marx says will bring about the change in society. As we explained in the first semester, Karl Marx used the dialectics of Friedrich Hegel and how he explained that when two things clash, a new thing emerges. And that new thing that has emerged is superior to the previous two. And that one brings about a new development. But because society is a process, the new one will also encounter a challenge. And then the two will clash. And then as it moves on, it finds solution to the problem, and a change comes. With this coronavirus that we have, we used to have a normal life. Then there is a challenge, there's a clash. Now society is trying to find a means of overcoming this coronavirus. And so when we are able to overcome it, definitely our lives are going to be changed. A lot of people are going to give their lives to Jesus. A lot of people are going to give their life to Muhammad, or to be more religious. I'm put it that way. To be more religious than before. Because of what? The change, this virus that have taken place. Because different pastors are giving different interpretations that it is rapture, it is the end of the world. And so Karl Marx says that every stage of society operates to a maximum efficiency, and it starts to develop weakness at a point. And so we say that the health institution in society was operating at this maximum level. But now with this coronavirus, we have seen that it is not sufficient. And so there are weaknesses. And so what we need to do more. So in the Karl Marx era, this will lead to a collapse, and a new one emerges that is superior to the old one that we had. Let me give another example. We had a YAM phone. All we could do was that we used them to be making calls. Now you have come to a university. Every note is sent to you by mail. And your mail is not Android. And so you cannot download the notes. The YAM at a point in time was efficient. Now at the university, it has met a challenge. And so it has gotten to its maximum level. It can no longer contain the notes that we send to you. So what do? Something new must come. And so you go and buy an Android phone. And that enables you to cope with the challenges that were facing you. And so the Android becomes superior to the YAM that you were previously using. Perhaps even the Android, you bought Techno. And at a point in time, the Techno begins to develop give you problems because it doesn't have the capacity to absorb more noise. And so said, now I need a Samsung that has a larger memory base. That is how, according to Canvas, the change takes place in society. That's what it says. This weakness leads to the eventual collapse of that stage and usher in a new one. So the Yam collapsed. Techno came in, which is Android. At a point, Techno also will collapse. You go for Samsung. And the Samsung, perhaps, you want for the cheaper Samsung. At a point, it will collapse. You go for an expensive Samsung that can contain more noise for you. So according to Kamas, whenever in society, based on our previous experiences that we have learned, that in society, the basic organization of society is organized on what? The economy. And so it says in the economy, we have private ownership of property. And so wherever this thing evolves, there's private ownership of property, society is divided into two distinct groups. When we're doing social stratification and we talk about classes, we explain this, so I want you to use that explanation to understand this. And so the two classes will emerge. And the two groups have different interests, different privileges. And the two groups are those who own the means of production, which, as I explained last when we were doing social classes, and then in the factories it is those who own machines. And the other one is those who do not own anything. So these two groups have completely opposing interests. They have different privileges. And so with time says they become conscious of their respective interests, and which Kamas calls class consciousness. And once they become conscious that Group A says, I am being cheated, Group C says, we need to protect our interests, the conflict ensues. And the conflict between the two groups starts when they become conscious of their respective interests and positions. So that's where property was the source of material production. There existed a basis for class conflict. So the class conflict will lead to social change, and the change that the conflict brings about is as a result of the different interests that the two groups will have, and the conflict that comes about as a result of the differences in interest will bring about a change in society. And so for Kamas, social change does not occur. You need to take this carefully. It does not occur only as a process, like the conflict wants us to believe, that the conflict must come, but it must be a gradual process. Kamas says, no, it is revolutionary. It's an event. Bang, it happened. Then when it happens, it brings a complete transformation of society, where the hitherto poor group will assume leadership positions in society and will condemn or abolish that private ownership of property and establish a society where everybody is equal. Now let's move to Kamas. Kamas believes in conflict, but he says that it is not the conflict that Kamas is talking about that brings about change. Remember, we have said that Max Weber opposed the ghost of Kamas. And so, whereas Kamas was saying that it is conflict that brings about change, Weber is saying that it is rather ideas. Even though Weber says that, yes, economic influence can bring about change, but it says it is rather the ideas you have that will bring about change. And says the ideas and attitudes exert considerable influence on society and thus have a very important role to play in social change. The ideas and attitudes which we always speak about, that it is your ideas, it is the attitude that you have in society that will bring about change in your life, not anything, not fighting anybody. And so it says a particular attitude of man is responsible for the change that takes place in the society. And this he says this is the prime mover of change in society. That ideas is the prime mover of change in society. And Weber says that this change, he calls it rationalization. That is, trying to have a rational application of ideas, or trying to be rational in your outlook, not trying to be magical or trying to be traditional. That's why I said rationalization is the elimination of magical thought and practice. That you believe in supernatural powers. You believe in tradition. This was done 20 years ago, and so the same thing must happen today. No. It says there's a need for rationalization. And this rationalization he calls technocratic thinking. In other words, it means finding solution to a problem. That's the best solution to a problem. So it says when a person is rational, his social and cultural life is greatly influenced by the efficiency and rationality of his actions. Let's go back to his social action, where we spoke about the goal-oriented action, not value-oriented or traditional action, but or effective action, but says goal-oriented action. That the action that we take is rational, and the goal we want to use the action on is also rational. And so, the goal we use the action to achieve, the rational to achieve is also rational. Fine, that is good. And so he goes on to say that yes, it is this rational action, this technicality that gives us change. For example, he gives a typical example of saying that when you are moving and you come across a river and you cannot walk through the water, you don't just go and find the source of the river and then cross. But then you build a bridge across the river and you cross the river. That is technical action, efficient action that you need to take. And so he argued that rational actions are purposeful or goal-oriented. It is based on something that what you want to achieve. It is based on your ideas. It is based on the goal. And because the goal is rational, you choose a rational action to achieve that particular goal. So Weber argues that the modern institution that typifies this is what? Bureaucracy. In bureaucracy, we don't use traditional values. We don't use anything. We use rational principles to achieve. Even though bureaucracy has its own problems, but he says it is bureaucracy that is the best means to bring about change in society. And he saw in religion that idea that he was talking about, a certain form of religion. This idea that he was talking about, he found in a certain form of religion. And he said it was this idea that was responsible for the development of modern capitalism. He observed Western Europe and realized that some people were working in a disciplined way. They would work, get the money, get a profit, but they will not enjoy the profit that they have worked to achieve. That is a bit odd. Because the normal person, once you work, you get your money, you get your profit, you get everything, you need to live good. But Weber says no. It didn't happen among a certain class of people. And so he wondered what ideas were put in the minds of such people. And he identified the ideas with a particular religion called Calvinism. And so the followers of John Calvin were demonstrating the right ideas, the right attitude that for him were responsible for the change that brought about capitalism in Western Europe. Calvinism, what are some of the things about values of Calvinism? Says work is a virtuous action. In other words, if you engage in worldly work, it's not sin. You are doing what is right. And two, it encourages its members to lead or to live a ascetic lifestyle. When we talk about ascetic lifestyle, We're talking about a lifestyle that is not ostentatious, or that is quote unquote mean. You have money, but you don't want to enjoy life. You live a life that is thrifty, that is frugal. In other words, a life that does not enjoy so much wealth. Even though accumulation of wealth was a symbol of virtuous and efficient hard work, says if you get the money, don't misuse the money. Save the money, reinvest the money. And so the concept of fruits of labor was denied by the believer because of the need to live an ascetic life. So there was a need to accumulate money for reinvestment and become upwardly mobile. Weber does describe Protestantism as worldly affirming. In other words, they believe that worldly work is not against the will of God. Worldly work is the work of the Christian, must be part of the Christian life. And so he encourages people to work hard. Whereas Catholicism was saying that, yes, the world is sinful, and we have a hope. Very soon we will leave the world to go to our Maker. They didn't emphasize so much on worldly work. Says, let us focus on our Maker, and he will deliver us. And so Satan also said the world is seen as a bad place, and people wait for the next world rather than try to engage to change their situation. But this have changed among the Catholic Church, because now the Catholic Church encourages people to work extra hard, make their money, but live simple lifestyles so that you don't waste your money on things that are not necessary. And so for Weber, it was this particular thought among those people who followed John Calvin that brought about change. It was their attitude. It was about their values, their beliefs, their ideas. And one thing that I want to add, which is not found in the slides, and which is found in your notes, is that the people, John Calvin told the people something that was unique. He said that the world will come to an end, and God has selected some people to be with him. And those other people will be condemned. And people's situations were predetermined. In other words, some people have been selected. No matter what they did, they will see God. Others, no matter what they do, they will not see God. And if you were living at that time, you'll be confused. And so what they care, the people that became worried, who then is going to be saved? So the priest of John Calvin told the people that since success on earth is from God, or work is from God, once you become successful in the work that you do, it means God has blessed you. And that was what gingered them up to work extra hard. And because everybody felt that then I need to work to become a successful business person. Because if I become successful, it's a sign that God has blessed me. God's hands are in my business. That is why I am succeeding, which means that I am part of those who have been saved and are going to heaven. That was what happened. And that is what Weber explains how capitalism developed in Western Europe. Now we look at the psychological approach, which is the third one. And this one is similar to that of Max Weber. So as it places emphasis on the character and personality of individuals. And the assumption that attitudinal values are important factors that create a modern society, an economic and a political system. Attitudes and values are very, very key, which exactly is what Max Weber was also saying. So what is more important is why something happened, not what specifically caused what happened. and not what happened. Which means that they wanted the means that was used to achieve what happened. So that what something happened, what specifically caused what happened. In other words, they preferred the reason behind the action, not the outcome. And so it says to understand why what happened, importance was given to what? Value orientation. What are your values within specific cultures? What are the values within specific cultures? There are certain cultures which will stifle initiative, and there are certain cultures which will enhance and develop initiative. Like the Catholic Church of old and the Protestant Church of old. While the Catholic Church didn't have the right value orientation, Calvinism had the right value orientation. And so it brought about changes. And so those places that were mainly Catholic didn't see much development as compared to those that were not Catholic. So there are zones that certain factors, when present, lead to change, but when absent, lead to stagnation. And so these are, it says, there are factors which must be present in specific cultures when bring about change. Now let's look at the culture of Ghana, the culture of, let's say, China, Korea. In Ghana, people have a lot of excuses. They give all kinds of excuses if they don't want to go to work. And if they have a problem and you want to dismiss the person, hey, you want to take away my source of income. But in the advanced countries like Japan and other places, it doesn't happen like that. Whether it is raining or not, you must go to work. But in Ghana, a small drizzle, and it's even among us in the university, a student, when it drizzles more, the student say that, I'm tired, I can't go for lectures. Meanwhile, he didn't do anything. But there are some who will say that no matter what, I will go for lecture. And so your value orientation will determine the kind of change that comes to you. That is why we said change is universal, but it varies. Your value orientation will determine how fast you will change and even the level to which you will go. And so it says among the factors singled out by McClelland or by this psychological approach are the values and attitudes of individuals and their willingness to see education as a means of promoting meritocratic and individual character in society. That means that they said, what are your values? And what belief do you have in education? Do you seek education as expensive and therefore not necessary? Do you want to go and do business or what? And so it says once we have the right values and attitudes, we are likely to see change. And so this general assumption underlying the psychological approach, therefore, is that every social structure, to accept any innovation, that social structure must have a high level of achievement motivation. In other words, if you are there and you want to accept new things, in other words, I'm talking about the need for adaptation, then you must have a need for what is called achievement motivation. In other words, that desire to change your situation. That's what is meant by a high level of achievement motivation. Yes, I have this, but I don't accept where I am. I can do better, and so I need a change. And then you accept that ideas, that values, that attitudes that will bring about a change in your life. And so the view is that it is society with a high level of achievement motivation and preparedness of ability to change that will produce entrepreneurs that are more energetic. In other words, so if KNUS, let's say in the class, those of you who are willing to accept motivation, or if the class has that culture, that value orientation, then that class is likely to change the way it does things. And that class will have students who will be able to produce things for the society. In fact, if you look at Ghana, our structure is such that perhaps I would say that maybe we don't have a high level of achievement motivation. If you look at our educational system, it doesn't encourage people to think and think very well. And so the society is experiencing difficulties, even though there are opportunities there for people to change. The university provides the people, the students, with the people ability to change, but some students will not accept that change, and they want to still maintain how they have studied. That is why somebody can start, even though can start at an average of syllabus of 50. At the end of the year, the person can move to 60, 70. But somebody who can start from 40 and remain there and finish school without a certificate. According to McClelland, there are two factors that are agents of change, and it's not different from what we have said previously. Said the need for achievement and entrepreneurship. The need for achievement, in other words, the desire to change, the desire to move up, and then the entrepreneurship is what? That desire to also not accept what you have, but then to move on and persist to move on. That's entrepreneurship. And so McClelland says that the need for achievement is a psychological factor defined as a desire to do well, not so much for the sake of social recognition or prestige, but to attain an inner feeling of personal accomplishment. That is beautiful. I want to get A, not because I want my colleagues to see me that I have A, but because when I get the A, it gives me personal satisfaction. That is simple. I get happy. Not to please my parents, that's why I came to university, but because I want to see that I have developed myself. It's a personal goal. It's a personal desire. And so McClelland says that economic change is a product of high degree of individual motivation or need achievement. And so a first class is a personal commitment that you make if you want to have it. It is not because the class is large and therefore when I come to the classroom I can't understand anything or we don't have the textbooks. No. Now that we are teaching, you are in the house. But then it says we want to teach, so we explore means of getting to you in your houses. And so we have adopted this technology, this mechanism to provide you with the information you need to build your knowledge. And so McClelland says economic, political, and social structures have nothing to do with the nature and direction of development. In other words, when you are in the university, the structure of the university, the number of people in the classroom, the books that we have in the university, whether they are adequate or not, should not be a barrier to your success. What is a barrier to your success is your desire not to change. But once you have, even though there might be limit, we may not have all the books that we need. The classrooms are not properly ventilated. Yet, once you have the desire to achieve, you move high to achieve. And that is why, yes, some people will always get a first class. Others will not get a first class. Some people, every semester, they have a problem with a lecturer, they have a problem with the notes, they have a problem with something. These are the people who may not have the desire to achieve or the need to achieve. But those who have a need to achieve, regardless of their circumstances, they may be hungry. They may not have decent dresses to wear. They may have only one dress, but every week they do what is called wash and wear. Wear it and come for lectures. All that the one that they need to appear neat. And they will come for lectures. At the end of the day, they see that should not be a barrier to their development. It should be rather a motivation for them to change. And so the values, motives, or psychological force that determines the rate of social economic change is your values, your desire. Not anything, not a structure, not whatever. Otherwise, Japan, Germany will not be able to develop because the Second World War destroyed Japan. It destroyed Germany. But because they had the need for achievement, they have even developed and they are better off than a lot of the countries that did not experience the war. That's why I said, what is needed is the diffusion of ideas, increasing in achievement, education, and reorganizing of fantasy of life. In other words, what we need to do to bring about change is that the ideas that our leaders have should be brought down to the people. That is what Kagame has said. That is what Singapore did. One leader, his ideas were transformed or transferred to the people on the ground, and he stuck to his grounds. He was able to develop Singapore, and now Singapore is one of the highly developed countries in the world. If Ghana want to see development, then our leaders must have the right ideas. If as individuals want to see development, we must have the right ideas, the right values, and the right motivation. Once we have them, we can develop. And so, says people who have high achievement usually are the most successful entrepreneurs. They never give up. They never give up. They are always trying their hands on new things. And it says that, entrepreneurs possess what he called the strategic mental virus, not strategic coronavirus. Strategic mental virus. That virus that doesn't kill, like the coronavirus, but the virus that stimulates people to think, to use their minds. It says it is this virus that brings economic rationality and market innovativeness crucial to societal development. And so it says everybody who wants to achieve must have the strategic mental virus. And once we have it, our society will develop, our personally will develop, and we'll have the best of lives. Thank you for this. So the next topic that we want to consider is the political institution. Because we don't have time, we will not be able to. I want us to take 2 institutions to supplement what we have, and then we call it an academic year. The family and marriage, you have done those in the under SOC 153 and 154, so we'll just ignore that and then look at religion.